Hello, this is Marcus Hadlock from YellowBouncyBall.com doing a quick tutorial on drawing in Flash. Now this tutorial should cover how I draw in Flash anyways, not that there's one way to draw in Flash. There's several ways, obviously, but I'm just going to go over how I generally use Flash for drawing, for illustrations and that sort of thing. So the first thing I want to go over is smoothing. So smoothing becomes visible in the properties panel once you have the brush tool selected. Any other tool won't have that selected. So I push B to get the brush tool, and then I see I have the smoothing value here, and it goes from 1 to 100. So what that does is, if you don't know, that basically deciphers how your brush strokes are going to be handled. So the higher the setting, the smoother your brush strokes will be. So now this is at 0, you can see my lines are very jittery. There's lots of points. This is not, best case. This is not what you'd want to draw with. For one, it's very jittery. It makes it look very, very sloppy, very messy. Two, the more points you have, the bigger the file size will be. So all these, it's just loaded with points. I generally draw with this set to around 60. I like around 60. The higher it is, the less points it will have. It smooths it out, and sometimes it makes it look a little funky like this. I don't really like to draw with it set at 100, but sometimes for, like if I'm doing game art for a Flash game, I will leave that at 100 because in Flash games, the lower amount of points, the better, because you'll have a smaller file size. And for Flash games, file size is pretty important. So you will want a smaller file size, and you will want to draw with less points if you're going to be drawing by hand like this. So I'm going to go ahead and set this back down to 60. It's a little annoying to get that when you're dragging. I'll just type it in. Another thing I want to go over is if you're using a tablet, there's this use pressure. And I like to use that with the tablet. I have an old Wacom here, so if I have that turned off, my brush strokes will just be one set width like this. But if I turn that, if I turn that on, I can go in soft, push down harder, make it thicker, and get some really good strokes. So that really adds a lot to a drawing, I think, if you can go in on the small details really lightly and have a small line, and then you can push harder and do it thicker, and that saves you from going and having to just select different brush sizes. So that's very handy for drawing if you have a tablet. There's also this use tilt here, which I don't all the way get because I'm tilting my pen all over the place, and I don't really seem to notice anything different going on here. So I generally leave that off. So now I'm going to go ahead and draw something really quick because I've gotten some questions on how I shade as well. So I'm just going to draw a face. I'll do my 2-dot method for the drawing practice just because it makes it easy for me. I'll go ahead and draw a face here. Let's see. Most often start with the eye first. This guy's got a big old rhinoceros looking bump on his nose here. Funky ear. Guy's pretty sloppy. Kind of a humanoid fantasy type creature or something. Let's go ahead and finish him real quick. go. So that's our quick drawing of a face. So when I shade, I often make a new layer, and I just use black, and I set this alpha to 20%. And on the new layer, I'll just draw. I'm not doing anything special, I'm just drawing with this alpha. I've had questions, why is it black while I'm drawing? It just appears that way as I'm holding the brush down, but once I let go, you'll see the alpha come into effect there. So it's just a quick way to shade really easily, just to do it this way. It just makes it real easy to hop into Flash and do a quick little doodle. I wouldn't recommend Flash for anything other than, you know, just kind of quick cartoony type drawings. It's not really good for huge sketches or digital painting or anything like that. You can come up with some pretty cool things in Flash, but you're kind of stuck to this cell shading for your details. One thing you can do in Flash very easily is you can draw your line art and then bring that into Photoshop and digital paint, or paint it that way. And you can be pretty effective in that way. Though you don't have to bother with drawing in Photoshop. And I do like how Flash does smooth your lines for you. I think that's really effective and pretty neat. So, you know, the line looks really nice and crisp in here. Whereas in Photoshop, if you have any sort of jitter or anything, you know, you see everything you do, but in Flash it kind of smooths it out for you pretty nicely. So see, I purposely did a jitter there, and it does a nice job smoothing it out for you. And that's one thing I love about Flash. So you'll see me draw in Flash quite often, just because I love how the brush tool works in Flash. Gotten quite accustomed to it over the years, doing a daily doodle and that sort of thing, where I was drawing a picture every day. I kind of resorted to Flash as my main application for doing those quick illustrations, just because of that brush tool. So you see I drew a quick face here, nothing special, just a ugly dude with a big ear. But you know, it looks decent with the cell shading and the quick drawing. I mean, for how much time and effort I put into it, it's pretty cool. So that's how I typically draw in Flash. And if you wanted to make this a symbol, so you could save it or move it around easier and not mix it up with other drawings that you're doing, you can do that. But because you have it on two separate layers here, if you just create a symbol from this, I'm not sure how to do it besides pushing F8 here. I don't even see it in there. I just push F8. If I do it this way, you'll get this funkiness going on here. So it basically places the shadow shading layer on top of your drawing layer, and it messes it up because it's all in one layer. If you wanted to convert this to a symbol, what I would suggest is, you know, drawing anything here, create this to a symbol. Horn nose dude. And then copy these frames. Actually, you don't want that on there. Sorry, I'm going to stick this on a separate frame just so I don't copy it. So I'm going to copy these two frames that this drawing is on. And then I'm going to go inside of this symbol I just made and just paste frames. And there's my drawing. So now I have it in a symbol or a movie clip. You have to do it this way just to avoid that funkiness from going on. So I could, you know, if I accidentally erase this one, or if I accidentally draw something on top of it and then I connect the lines, you know, you have this movie clip, which is kind of cool. It's kind of like a, you know, digital sticker you can move around and slap anywhere. So I like that feature in Flash too. So yeah, that's how I draw in Flash. I hope you enjoyed this and hope it was information or insightful for you a little bit. And see you around.